Hello and welcome to, well, I don't know if is it a Sonic Lab special or a Friday Fun special? I don't know what this is, but what I do know, we've got Joseph Hyde here, or Joe Hyde. We met in Frome. There's a kind of open mic kind of night for people into synths, and it's called Breezeblock Beats, and I went along there once. We met, and you did a set with this MachineDrum. Sort of second generation, I guess, is the SPS UW+.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it was really nice to see you there. I kind of spotted you in the audience. I've seen all your YouTube videos, and it's like, that can't be Nick Pat. That's Nick Pat. So it was great that you came and saw it. And yeah, I was doing a kind of tryout of a setup just using the MachineDrum, see how far I could push it, really. I wanted to do something where I had as little as possible on my table.
Yeah.
Especially no laptop, and the MachineDrum just stood out as something that actually could do a lot more than just drums, really.
Well, that was the thing that was interesting. Not only did it sound, I mean, because it's in a crypt in a church with a kind of higgledy-piggledy sound system, so you get variable quality in terms of sound. But this just sounded massive and punchy and really interesting. It's a great night, actually. People turn up with synths, they just sort of jam. They might be prepared, or it might be something off a laptop. It really doesn't matter. So tell me a little bit about why you chose this and how you came about kind of introduction to electrons, because it's not you're not like an early adopter of this stuff, are you?
No, not really. I never had a MachineDrum back in the day. I certainly remember them. I'm sure I had to play around with one. I've always thought they're good. They are fantastic drum machines. I think probably a future classic there. But I bought one from a friend on a kind of whim. I was looking for something to make some kind of percussive sounds to go with my modular synth. Tried really a lot of new drum machines and a lot of old drum machines, and this one really stood out to me. I think it's something to do with the fact that it sounds great, but also it's really, really tweakable. You can basically make it sound like anything. It's really actually a very fully featured synthesizer disguised as a drum machine.
Well, which is what made me stand out, because I was thinking that your set is very melodic and pitched. Yeah. So you've got a whole set of sounds in there which are more geared really more towards melody than they are to percussion, although there's percussive elements as well. So just a quick recap of the structure of an Elektron MachineDrum. It's got basic machines, isn't it, inside it?
Yeah. So each one of these keys here is a track, and you assign a machine to it, and that's a little synth. Some of them are samples. You can play samples. You can, in this version, the UW version, you can load your own samples in. But for what I'm going to show you today, I'm not using any samples at all. They do sound great, 12-bit crunchy goodness from the year 2000. They sound really good for that sort of thing. But I'm just using the synth engines. There's 3 of them actually. One is a kind of physical modelling synth. The one I'm mostly using is, I think they call EFM, which is just an FM synth, basically. And actually you can do anything that an FM synth can do, a simple FM synth. And like all Elektron machines, they're very, very programmable through the parameter lock system. So you can set up really nice sequences with them. And do these kind of melodic things.
And how much performance is there to it? I mean, when you kind of set this up, did you kind of write a bunch of patterns or a big single pattern and just thought, right, I know roughly which modulation routings I want to change, what mute groups I'm going to use? Yeah. How did you put that together?
It is mostly done live. I mean, it's kind of done as much live as possible, to be honest. I mean, in some ways, it's interesting for me to tell you what I'm not doing on here, because you can have 64, 128, I can't even remember, patterns on it. I'm only using one pattern. Patterns can be 64 steps, and I'm only using 32 steps. So I'm using one 32-step pattern. You can have on this version thousands of kits. I'm only using one kit, and I'm actually only using about 8 sounds within that kit. So there's a little underlying thing, but what I really wanted to do was to twiddle as much as possible. Really, I've been doing a lot of modular synthesis stuff, and I'm sort of in a way thinking of this like a modular synthesizer, of how much the parameters can kind of affect
sort of
things.
Pre-configured routings, which is often you create multiple mod buses effectively and then introduce them, right?
Yeah, and under the bonnet, this is very modular. You can route almost anything to anything else. And you can get that sort of thing that goes on where one parameter can really make a lot of different things change in a slightly unpredictable way.
Right, and all of this is going out into a couple of lovely old Electro Harmonics, and you're just going direct out, and we've got 2 channels, but it's not really a left and right thing.
It's not really left and right, no. It's all very lo-fi, what I'm doing, to be honest, and I'm just using these really to kind of dirty up the sound a bit, mainly. I love the sound of the machine drum. It is very, very, very digital. It's about as digital as it gets, as far as I'm concerned. It's quite hard to not sound like 90s IDM or Techo or whatever, which I love. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to sort of make the sound a bit different, and that's why I'm using these. They're both bucket brigade delay lines, analog delays. I'm not even really using them as delays. I'm using them just to kind of give it a bit of filth to the sound, to be honest.
And are you using every single track on this, or are you limited?
No, I'm not actually. I've got 16 set up, but I probably won't use them all.
So, I mean, can you play an individual sound on each? Because could we just have a listen to some of these?
So, I mean, some of them are quite sort of traditional. That's just a kick. It's put through the memory man there, which gives it that kind of quite nice. If I turn that off, you hear it's just a very straightforward, but that gives it both the delay, but it's got that like little bit of nasty kind of decay to it. That one I'm not using actually. In fact, I'm not using either of those. This one I like. That's actually a rim shot, believe it or not. It's a rim shot sound.
So how are you getting the pitch out of the rim shot?
Well, essentially you need to get rid of a lot of the programming of the machine. So it's got some pitched sounds in there, and then a lot of modulation on the frequency modulation that makes it noisy. And I've sort of turned all of that down.
Right,
to just get back to
like a sine tone almost.
More or less, yeah. In fact, one of the other sounds, I think it's this one, that is just a sine tone. It's just in there for no particular reason. If you wanted a sine tone, that's it there, but I find it quite a useful sound in kind of context.
And what about the melodic aspect? So are you using the melody in terms of each track is a note, or are you automating or
I'm automating them, yeah. So let me just show you one of those if I mute. One of the really annoying things about the machine drum, it's got no solo.
Yeah.
Really annoying. So the only thing you can do is you have to mute everything else except the sound you want. But this one here has got a little melody on it that you'll hear. Obviously it could be a much more complicated melody, but I just wanted a simple melody.
Right.
And that's just done as parameter lock. So if we look at that sequence, if I put this into the step sequencer, you can see those notes being played.
Ah, right, okay.
And each one of those you can basically lock parameters, including the pitch, obviously.
Because, I mean, this was one of the first, well, if not, it is the first notion on the first, well, the original machine drum anyway, well, not about 2001, 2000, that had this kind of concept of parameter locking.
Yeah.
And there's a really distinct difference, because some synths and some sort of workstations or drum machines try and emulate it, but what they don't do is they don't start with the starting value. So every time you change it to the next one, it stays the same until it gets round again, whereas this returns. So if you start on C, it'll stay on C until you go to F.
Yeah.
But when it comes round again, it will do C. You don't have to program the C in first.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of, I don't know what sort of state. That's a specific kind of state.
Yeah. I mean, however they've done it, it's right. It is. I mean, I think probably everyone says this about Elektron stuff. It is what it is. You kind of have to get into their mindset rather than anything else. You definitely need to read the manual for this.
Yeah.
But once you do get on top of it, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. They've really thought about that. That's a good way of doing things. And little things that surprise you, like what you just said. And yeah, if you set up some of these parameter locks, but then other ones aren't locked, then you can kind of change the ones that aren't locked, but the locked ones will stay the same. So you can kind of make variations on the pattern. There are also some very nice, some of the machines, as I say, the machines are the things, the little synthesizers that you assign to the keys. Some of them are a bit meta, so you can set up one that basically just affects the parameters of all the others. So you can set up one machine that like automates all the other machines. And sometimes that can be really weird because you don't quite know what that's going to do. and I'll do a bit of that towards the end of what I'm showing today.
Wow. Okay. So, where can people kind of get hold of your stuff? I mean, do you publish your music? I mean, is it something that's available?
Yeah, well, I've got a basic website which is just under my name, josephhyde.co.uk. A lot of the stuff that I do is more kind of sound design kind of work. I'm actually doing a project with some scientists at the moment, trying to imagine what molecules sound like.
Wow.
But all my stuff's up there anyway, and there's links to SoundCloud and that kind of thing. I'm going to put some of this up there very soon. That's for sure.
Great. Well, Joe, if you want to take us away, you're gonna play us out with some more of your lovely tunes. So,
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right, I'll give it a go.